Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Miss Dori Staehle. Hey, Dori.
Hey, Kimberly, how are you doing?
I am great. And I see you're in your drum room, and we're going to talk about drumming today. And I'm very excited about that.
Good, good. Yeah, I have been on different networking events and things, virtual ones, and they'll see some of my gear and think, "Are you in your son's room?" Or, what's up with all the stuff behind you? They don't get it. Yeah, no, I am a drummer, and this is all my gear, and I guess they just don't think that. First of all, a woman, especially somebody my age, would be using drums, especially the way that I use them, but yeah, this used to be our son's room, but now it's mine, and that's my gear. And it's just funny how he was the first drummer of the family, and I was the late bloomer. So you're never too old, to try something new.
That is so true. And just so people can kind of know you, I'm just going to read your short bio.
Sure.
So, a freak accident in 2011 triggered a rare disease and caused Dory to rethink her life and her purpose. She asked God to give her a way to heal herself and others. The answer was use your drums. In 2 weeks, she was healed. She then started her fourth business, New Stage Drumming, with only $10. And when she was in her 50s, doing mainly classes, events, and private drum therapy sessions. Once Dory began to infuse some mentoring and coaching, she began to see breakthroughs taking place very quickly. She realized that she needed to share this with more people because you're never too old and it's never too late to rock what you've got. Dory
Exactly.
is a certified drum therapist, has a drum ministry, and two encouraging books on Amazon. She lives in Raleigh, North Carolina area, but also works virtually. So I really want to hear your story. You can start anywhere from childhood, your businesses, wherever you want to start.
Sure, Kimberly. Yes, actually, the company name is Next Stage Drumming, as in moving people on to the next stage of their career, business, or life. All of my businesses have had next stage in the title in some way, shape, or form. I started my entrepreneurial journey back in 1995, actually. We were homeschooling our two kids, and by their request, by the way, this was not my idea at all, but school wasn't working for them. And they said, "Look, this school is way too boring." They were age 6 and 9 at the time, and I thought, really? And they needed more creative and challenging types of learning. They knew that I was out there teaching other kids. Actually, I was teaching Spanish of all things. I know like a little tiny bit of Spanish. I majored in French and German, believe it or not. And people were asking me if I could create a Spanish program. Now, I'm very creative, outside of the box kind of thinker, and I love a challenge. So I did. So I created, it was actually an adventure story, looking up words in Spanish so I know. So if anybody asks, I can at least do the story and stick to the story. And I got the Spanish words. But anyway, our kids had asked to be homeschooled, and I discovered they were extremely bright, extremely creative. The schools were recommending Ritalin at the time. That was the medication du jour. And it wasn't called ADHD back then, it was called ADD. I changed the acronyms, however, because I discovered after many, many years of working with hundreds of kids, our kids were my first two clients, but there were hundreds after that. And I discovered there were underlying issues triggering the symptoms. And I had wondered, is there a way to reverse this, or at least give them different ways to manage the symptoms? So yeah, I created a program. Drumming was not even in the mix at that time, but what I was doing was enough to give them the confidence that they needed, and different learning techniques, because they were all right brain dominant. I tested them all. And so I started my speaking career at that point at a lot of educational conferences, gifted ed conferences, because I created a theory called the gifted ADHD connection. And I discovered what I call Dori's top 10, the top 10 issues that were triggering ADHD symptoms. Now, again, this was through experimentation and just reviewing all these different factors. And there were a lot of common elements that kept popping up. And I narrowed it down to the 10. Now, granted, there's lots of other different issues that could trigger the symptoms. In fact, there's hundreds. So the fact that doctors at that time were willing to write a prescription for a type 2 controlled substance that is identical to cocaine in its chemical composition. Just try it, see if it works. And I said, but it has side effects. I've done my research. Some of the side effects could be permanent. And you just want me to give your son and see if it works. And I'm thinking, nah, I'm not really comfortable with that. So let me try some other things and see what happens. So I discovered all of these things that were actually affecting our son's hyperactivity, and many of them were food related. Ha! And he also needed to move a lot. So I changed the acronyms. In my book, ADD is a delightful dreamer, and ADHD is a definitely hyper drummer. And I'm both. I'll be here all week. So nobody was thinking outside of the box at the time. So that worked really well. And then we discovered our two kids were very musical, very quick studies. And we figured, well, let's see where this goes. They wanted to form a band. They got a friend to play bass. Our son was on drums. Our daughter was on keyboard and guitar. She was writing songs. They also did some cover tunes. So I was booking them and getting gigs. And before I knew it, other people were asking me, how do I get in on that? And Next Stage Entertainment was born. So that was business number 2. I did both Next Stage Educational Services and Next Stage Entertainment at the same time while homeschooling. So when
Amazing.
people say, oh, I couldn't possibly start a business, I did those 2 businesses part-time. We homeschooled for, certain hours a day, and then the tutoring students would come in and I would tutor them. And then I did the band stuff on the weekends. I was booking teen band nights because different towns realized that I like to come out and support young talent. And I was the only adult that actually stayed in the room. They asked me to be a volunteer. And before I knew it, I became a teen band night coordinator for 4 different towns and groomed them, found them, and booked them, and they got paid. So they were teens and then later college kids and then later adults. I started switching to like festival gigs and things like that after a while. But it was an 18-year fun run. Not a whole lot of money was made in that business, but at least I can say I knew them when. So I was very used to being the gal who was backstage, not center stage. I was the one supporting the bands, sometimes literally pushing them out there to take the microphone, doing all the promotion. So that's how I learned all about social media and promotion and booking contracts and all the different things. I'm self-taught in all of my businesses. So people look me up on LinkedIn, they see the MBA after my name, and they just assumed, oh, you learned all of this in business school. No, none of it. Because I went to business school a long, long time ago, and they didn't teach about entrepreneurship at all. And I was only one of 5 women in the program at the time. So we're going way back. So now I just learned what I needed to know, and it worked really well. And again, I've worked with so many different towns and over 900 local young bands and solo artists. Some of them are still out there, so I definitely can say I knew them when. So yeah, I was just doing those 2 things, thinking, okay, this is pretty cool. I attended an event. Our kids, they were in multiple bands, and I booked and managed some of our son's bands. Our daughter kind of went solo after a while. But then, they were off to college. Homeschooling worked really well, by the way. They got scholarships. There you go. And a local college wanted to hire me as a homeschooling specialist. It was like a sales and marketing position. So I thought that's pretty cool. And so I began doing some of that as well, thinking I'll keep my 2 businesses on the side and that'll work. And this was during the recession of, let's see, when was it? I can't remember, 2009.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I thought, well, they're offering me this position. I got a company car, I got an expense account, got to travel up and down the East Coast. I got paid to speak. How cool is that? So all was working well, except for one weekend. I was at an event. I'm not going to say where, and I'm not going to say which business it was or wherever, but I was run over by a speeding bicyclist in a crowd of 200 people,
Oh.
standing outside minding my own business. Somebody called my name. I stepped forward to go talk to them, and bam, the kid hit me. Keep in mind, this was a 10 speed, not a Harley. It wasn't a motorcycle, but I still went flying. I'm a pretty skinny gal, so I don't have any padding. And it was like a football tackle with, just no padding. And so there was no support at all. I went flying. And I do remember before that, though, I heard two things. First, I heard from my Dori, look out. And I didn't have enough time. And then I heard the very still small voice of the Holy Spirit. For people who out there who think this is too weird, I'm sorry, but I know the voice. I've heard it before. And what I heard was, Dori, lean back. I thought, okay, I'll lean back and I won't be hit. Well, I was hit anyway. And I thought, what's the point of that? And I went flying and I spun around. I never hit the ground though. I touched the ground with my hand, but I pushed myself up. I did realize though, as I was spinning and turning, I'm a former dancer and a former runner. So I know how to, especially with the running, we used to live up north in Connecticut, New Jersey, and I would run year round. So when you hit ice, you have to know how to fall. So I did the same thing, just tuck your head, you're going down. And, there's what I saw bricks in front of me. It was a brick courtyard. All I could think of was pull up, so that I didn't hit. And I did. But I think it was when I twisted to avoid the fall, because I was trying to, tuck my head and all. I felt pop, pop, pop. And I thought, oh, this is not going to be good. And so the whole weekend long, it was a weekend long event. I was putting like ice packs on my back and my shoulder and my ankle and my knee in between things because I knew that I was swelling up. And I thought, well, I don't know what I did, but I'm sure it was pretty good. And there was no medical on staff, so I had to wait until like Monday morning to get looked at and all that. And so long story short, chances are nobody in the audience has ever been run over by a speeding bicyclist, right? Unless you work in New York City and you're used to bicycle messengers, because that's how this kid was flying, like really top speed, major G-force there. And again, I'm a really tiny person. So it's amazing that nothing was shattered. He hit my arm, and my arm shouldn't have been shattered because, I'm really, there's no, my arms are really skinny. They're like birdie arms. Um, and nothing was broken. Even my own doctor, when I went for a physical, she said, I can't believe nothing was broken. And she said, so you said you leaned back, right? I said, yeah, I didn't want to tell her why because she would have thought I was nuts. She said, it's a good thing you did because I had a patient once who was hit by a bicycle and the handlebars hit him in the chest and he died on impact.
Oh.
He said, you avoided that by just a few, like a couple of inches because it hit your arm. Wow, right? So that freaked me out. And then I realized, because a friend of mine told me, because I couldn't understand why. Why was I hit? I'm doing all these good things. I'm helping people with, two part-time businesses and then the sales position. And I'm helping people. God, this isn't fair, right? And so my friend said, Dori, think of it this way. You were hit so that nobody else could be hit because you just told me everybody stepped back. Oh, you bet. When they saw that happening, everybody took a step back. There were two little girls next to me. They were about 5 years old. If I blocked the hit, if I wasn't there, they would have been hit and forget it. I don't think it would have ended well at all. So, well, if somebody had to take the hit, might as well be somebody who's in really good shape, right? So that I thought everything was fine, but chances are you've never been hit by a speeding bicyclist, as I said, but chances are something has come at you from left field in your life. It could have been a layoff. It could have been divorce. It could have been, some sort of event happened in your life that just changed everything. You didn't see it coming. Well, neither did I. And 30 seconds is all it took to completely change my life. Because after that, I was not the same. I couldn't move. I couldn't reach. I couldn't sleep. I was in severe pain. I didn't know why. The doctors couldn't figure it out. They thought I was nuts, pre-existing condition. She's faking it. I said, look, if you're going to start thinking that I'm a hypochondriac, I have a challenge for you. You've obviously looked up my medical file. What did you find? Nothing, because I don't go to doctors. I'm very rarely sick except for the occasional sinus infection. A hypochondriac would have a really thick file. So nice try. You need to dig deeper. And they wouldn't. So once I realized that I was getting shooting pain in my tailbone, I asked for an MRI exam. And they said, what do you think you're going to find? At that point, I had left the job after 3 months because I knew I just can't. I had to stand for long periods of time, sit in the car for long periods. There were boxes of brochures that I had to bring out and do all these events and things like that. So it was not going to be good. So I just, exited stage left, gave them the keys to the company car, off I went, and that was that. Not realizing that what I had was a rare neurological degenerative condition called Tarlov cyst disease. Nobody put the pieces together. And I said, look, again, I'm in really good shape. I was swimming 26 laps, 52 lengths in 30 minutes at the time. And I was in my 50s. So I'm told that's pretty good. So I know when my body doesn't feel right, something's off. And sure enough, when I went for the MRI, they found all these cysts. I asked the technician, young guy, what the heck are these? He goes, I don't know, ask your doctor. And I thought, oh gosh. So I couldn't go to my doctor because, we can't get into that, but I had to go to other doctors, which, they were determined to prove me wrong. And so I had to find out a different solution. I said, these guys are not helping. So I asked God, give me a way to heal myself and heal others. By this point, it had been 3 long years of being in pain 24/7. One of the doctors, who was very, very snarky, really, really bad attitude. Think, boy, you didn't take the class on, dealing with patients. You have no bedside manner here, because I don't know if he would talk to his sister or his mom like this, but he was really nasty. And he said, so you're in pain all the time? I said, yeah, pretty much. He said, is there any time when you're not in pain? I said, no, it doesn't hurt when I drum with people. We couldn't figure out why. I had been drumming in the church band at the time. I knew drumming made me feel really good. It relaxes and energizes you at the same time. Some of my tutoring students, I started testing it out with them. It boosted their SAT scores because after 5 or 10 minutes of drumming with me, we were doing practicing problems, and they were going from a 40% accuracy rate before the drumming to a 100% accuracy rate after drumming with me using hand drums. We'd sit across from each other, and I gave them special techniques, and in only 5 or 10 minutes, they were completely acing the math problems, and they did really well on their SAT. But I figured with my gifted ADHD connection theory, the number one trigger I discovered for ADHD symptoms, despite I found some medical issues in a lot of these kids and easily fixed, but the number one trigger was stress. What is the best tool that I have in my toolbox to literally beat stress? You gotta whack on a drum. It feels so good. I mean, really. The beginning, the middle of the drum, whoops, here we go. Totally messed things up here. The middle of the drum is called the bass. So let me just plug back in here. Hopefully you can hear me. The middle of the drum has a lot of bounce. Got to keep the drum off the ground, people. So I know a lot of people have been to drum circles. I don't do drum circles. I don't do African drumming. I don't do shamanic drumming. I'm the one and only certified drum therapist now in the state of North Carolina, and only one of 3 in the South. So I do things a bit differently. Plus, I'm a rock chick. So I like to play in bands and church bands, cover bands, you name it. But I do know this, if you have a hand drum at home, like a djembe is what I'm using here, it's spelled D-J-E-M-B-E. You don't pronounce the D. You have to keep it off the ground because there's science in the sound waves, right? And when you hit the drum, especially the middle of it, you are releasing a lot of sound waves. So when I knew that I had this rare neurological condition and I thought, man, this is not going to be good, saw a lot of the videos online. Don't look up your symptoms online, people, because it'll really freak you out. And I thought, I don't want to go out this way. I did take a short trip to the dark side, unfortunately. Even though I call myself the chief encouragement officer, I began losing hope because I thought there's no cure for this. What now? What am I going to do now? And then I realized, you know, a lot of people have been coming to my events and saying that they feel really good. I said, well, yeah, because it's fun. I knew there was science behind it. There are like dozens of studies out there, dozens and dozens, that prove there are therapeutic benefits to drumming, especially in a group. It boosts your immune system, it reduces your stress levels, it reduces your blood pressure. It has been found to help you relax. A lot of the people I have worked with, they all say they feel less stressed and they feel joy. It boosts your endorphins, right? Because you're having a lot of fun. All the studies were done as a group, though. 8 to 10 week protocols, drumming together for an hour to 2 hours a week. No, I was just in my home office by myself, just drumming. Drumming really hard because I was really angry at the insurance companies and the doctors and all that.
Yeah. Get a little
I also had a
twitchy or
Native
my.
American
Mm-hmm.
buffalo drum
Yeah.
that has a mallet, big round thing. It's not authentic. Actually, my djembe drum is also not from Africa. It's not hand carved. It's not wood. It's really lightweight and portable, and that's what I needed because I was still going out and drumming with people with severe back pain. And I had a cushion for my chair, and I had icy hot patches on my back and my shoulder and my knee and my ankle. And when I told God, you know, I don't want to go on this way. So, yeah. So I drummed with the djembe, drummed 15 minutes to a half an hour for probably 10 days. I'm thinking I probably took the weekends off. So, and then I took that Native American buffalo drum. Again, that's all synthetic, but it still had a lot of bounce. I used a mallet on that one, and I put it directly where the tears were, because I was scheduled for 3 surgeries because they found I had tears in my shoulder, my knee, and my ankle, and an invasive procedure they were going to do on my spine. I thought, if you inject me and you miss, I could be paralyzed. So I said, well, God, I got nothing to lose, right? So it only takes a little bit of faith, right? That's about all I had at that point. But I thought, well, nothing else has worked. So doom, 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 I took a mallet and the drum like right over my shoulder, right over my knee, right over my ankle, and I dropped it over behind me on my back. Doom, 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 doom. And all of a sudden I noticed I don't feel any pain. Huh. Stood up, tested it out, and I said, well, let's see. No more range of motion issues. I did like an arabesque to see because I was having balance issues. Didn't fall over, first time ever. Okay, no balance issues. Um, no more pain anywhere. No brain fog because stress triggers ADHD symptoms in just about anybody, by the way. And I was suffering from this is my discovery from my 20 years of research. So just telling you what I found. And in me, I thought, well, I'm so stressed out and I've never had that much brain fog before. And it was like ADHD to the max. And after drumming, though, I felt really clear. I felt lots of clarity. I felt a connection with God. A lot of things were happened in that room. I don't want to freak people out too much, but it's my story and I'm sticking with it. I was talking with God the whole time. So I call it like journeying with Jesus because I was seeing visions and one vision I saw was walking along a path and there was a river and there was somebody walking in front of me, a guy. And I thought, okay, well, whatever. We're on the trail, we're walking. He turns around And he walks towards me. And I realized, oh my gosh, it's Jesus. And he puts his hands and he cups my face and he says, it's going to be okay.
Mhm.
You're going to be okay. And that's when I knew I really am healed. I don't need to go back to the doctors to get an MRI. What are they going to do? You can't go if you don't have any symptoms. Who's going to pay for it and all that? So I thought, well, I know what I know and I know how I feel. And that was in 2014, 10 years ago. I haven't been back to the doctor since and I haven't had any symptoms. So believe what you want, people. This is what happened to me. But I think it's because I also told God, give me a way to heal myself and heal others. I didn't want it to be just about me. So when you're feeling anxious, stressed out, and even depressed, one way to get out of that negative space is to do something for others. Because now you're not thinking about yourself 24/7. And what about, why me? What about me? It's all about you. And that's all I was thinking about is, what next? What am I going to do? So I said, all right, worked on me. Let's see what happens. And so it was like Dori 2.0 after that. Because whatever results I was seeing with people before were happening much faster. And I realized I had asked God for my spiritual gifts. Can I have those back now? I had them as a kid, but I wished them away because they freaked me out. I didn't know, why do I see visions? Why do I need to know things about people? Why can I sense things? And why are people feeling really great after they work with me once for just what is going on for just a fun event? And then I realized, okay, I'll take those back now. Because now I know if I see things, I can help heal them. So I started, walking around people at the end of a session with the buffalo drum or whatever, closing my eyes, and I was seeing pain points, red and orange, on their body. They didn't know because I'm behind them, so they didn't know I was closing my eyes. And I'm drumming, okay, I need to drum here, I need to drum there. They did not tell me before the event. They just walked in, they expected we were going to have fun, which we did. I always close out with a rockin' tune, by the way. I take requests and I teach them how to play along to whatever. It's got to be clean, though, and it's got to have a good beat. If they can't think of a song, I have a long playlist of a lot of positive, encouraging, rocking tunes that we can use. Again, I am a Christian, but I don't hit anybody over the head with the Bible. I work with people of all different faiths. If you want to close out with Bon Jovi, I can go there. Or whatever. If it's a Christian group, though, I will pick different music. But I started saying affirmations, deep breathing, affirmations. I was saying positive things. I was saying things, especially with private clients, of this is how God sees you. You are a child of God, daughter of the Most High King, anointed and appointed. You were given gifts for a reason. You're supposed to use them to bless others. It's not all about you. And suddenly, I was given ideas of different things that they could do with their businesses or whatever. And I just said, do you want to know what I see? I said, again, could be right, could be wrong, I don't know. But let me share if you're up for it. And I would share them what I saw for them and in them. And it was always positive and it was always empowering. And sure enough, their beats changed. They went from very tentative, tap, 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 very light. I'm thinking, is that all you got? Hit that thing. And all of a sudden they're doing fancy stuff and cool beats. So they adapted and changed. So when they shifted their beat, it shifted their mindset. So one woman said to me, Dori, so if you change your beat, you could change your mindset and change your life. I said, I like that. I'm going to use that. Yes. And in just a short time. So when I work with private clients, it's 8 sessions or less. That's generally all they need. And I'm documenting all of this so I can say, all you science people out there, that I have an evidence-based approach. I'm experimenting, I'm documenting, I'm creating specific beats and rhythms for specific things. So a kid on the autism spectrum, for example, is going to have a different program than a stressed out entrepreneur or employee, because I also do virtual corporate wellness and things like that. That would be different than somebody suffering from anxiety. or somebody who's having pain. I will completely customize it. So it's percussion with a purpose. And 90% of my private clients have experienced a breakthrough in 8 sessions or less. 54% in 3 sessions or less. A breakthrough could just be whatever goal they had, but they always get bonuses that nobody was expecting. Like, they're sleeping through the night. Teens have improved their grades. Again, I wasn't tutoring them. We were just drumming. But I think that it's not only the type of drum you use, it's where you hit it, how you hit it, and what is being said when you're drumming. So it pays to work with somebody who can add a little extra something to the mix and who's tapped in to a higher power. In my case, I'm very honest. I always tell people, whoever you work with, it's important to know their source because it might not be aligned with yours. And it's good to know. So I always tell them, I operate through the Holy Spirit. Any healing that takes place comes directly from the Holy Spirit through me because I ask. I always pray before every event. I bless the drums. I tell the Holy Spirit, give me what I need to give these people or this individual today. Let it come through me and through my hands and through my voice to help them rise up, heal, and move forward. And there you go.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so Dori, you've had quite an adventure in your life with all these businesses, with the injury, and then the really rare disease, and but then the drumming, something so simple, along with prayer and of course faith and belief in healing. And basically, through the Holy Spirit, you healed yourself and now you're helping other people heal. And do you have an idea, like, what is it about the drumming that makes that change?
Well, it's interesting. People have known for centuries, African tribes and Native American tribes have used drumming for 3 purposes: communication, celebration, and also for healing. So, when I started drumming with the church band, I was playing bongos and congas, and I knew it felt good, but I didn't know why. But I thought, I'm just going to be using drumming for entertainment, until I did some research and I Googled, is there such thing as drum therapy? And I found that there is, and I went for training with 2 different international organizations, got certified with the one, but then I was going even deeper and finding all of these studies that they actually were doing all these established protocols and even testing saliva and seeing changes at a cellular level. And I'm thinking, whoa, there's a boatload of science behind this and neuroscience as well, because it does open up the neural pathways so you can focus better. I've proven it time and time again with the different people that I've worked with. Again, I've been doing this now for close to 12 years, and I've worked with thousands of people. So even though I'm not an MD or a PhD, I get it, but you have to admit, when you're documenting your results and you're seeing all these things, including kids who were on the autism spectrum. One young man, 6-year-old nonverbal, all of a sudden he starts speaking words. We opened up the neural pathways. It's the vibrations of the drums. You have to do it on a continuous basis, though. So I always tell people, drum at least 15 to 20 minutes a day, at least 3 times a week. I originally thought everybody needs a djembe because of all the drums in my drum room. That's the one that has the most bounce and the most vibrations. You can actually feel it going through your body and through the room. The buffalo drum as well. I thought those 2, I have to use that. I recently discovered, by conducting an experiment with some gals who were brave enough to try a beta test program virtually, using a book on their end. It was a challenge from a coach. I said, I don't think this is going to work. All my clients, they get a djembe drum shipped to their house if they're in the US, because they need to have a drum on their side. And sure enough, it worked even with a book. And that's because they can hear my drum. I have special exercises that they were doing on the book. but it was a lot of what I was saying and different exercises that I was doing to help them, reset, refocus, recalibrate, and just have the confidence to rise up. They were gaining clarity. Same types of things were happening. I never thought that would work because I'm thinking it's got to be the sound waves. But there's way more to it than that, as I've discovered. You have to be really open, though. And I think because I am very, very curious, very creative, I'm open to trying new things, that has enabled me to bring in other elements that maybe others aren't experiencing. There's lots of drum circle facilitators out there, and they're having fun, and they're all, getting people to feel better. It's a given. I have on my website, I cannot guarantee miraculous healing. What happened to me was definitely different. However, I can guarantee that you will feel less stress and more joy. Those two are given. It happens every time. So anybody who works in the drumming environment, you're going to see that. But the extra stuff that I was seeing, including women who came in for a private session in person, that were having like numbness on their right side for months. And after just one session, they didn't have any more numbness. And I check in with them to make sure, is it something that sticks with them? Or is it just, one and done? And no, it did stick with them. So there's long-lasting benefits to this, and it can be used in multiple different ways. It's used in hospitals now with cancer patients because they found that therapeutic drumming boosts T cell production.
Cool.
So a lot of these studies have been done by neuroscientists, and I do work in tandem with people on occasion, a pediatrician or a neuroscientist or a psychologist sometimes, where what I'm doing is just an extra add-on, and it's an extra wellness tool to help the person either focus better if, they've got ADHD symptoms and they're all over the place, or just to help them with some neurological issues. And it's just been amazing the different ways you can use it. So I tell people, if you don't believe the faith side of things and just want to hear about the science, I can geek out on science all day. So what would you like to know?
Yeah, and to me that makes sense, especially with the sound waves, the ones, there's sound waves we can hear and sound waves we can't hear, but they're still there even if we don't hear anything. And in my profession, I'm a behavioral optometrist, so I use something called syntonics, which we're using colored light therapy for
Right.
healing, because that we know that light goes in. Everybody thinks that light only goes in through your eyes, but all your cells have light receptors, and I bet you all your cells have sound receptors too.
They do. And all different instruments have different frequencies. A lot of my Christian friends get freaked out whenever I mention the word frequency. Oh, Dori, now you're crossing the line. You're going to New Age territory. I said, ask any musician, especially your guitar players, your bass players. Every note has a frequency.
Mhm.
So every different type of drum has a different frequency. I've added in other instruments on occasion, including a little girl with seizure disorders. We were working virtually with her neurologist. I did not want to take on the client initially because I thought, what if I make the seizures worse? I was a little hesitant there. And the mom said, no, the neurologist recommended drumming. The girl's very musical. I went, okay. But I did add in some extra instruments with a higher frequency because I did a little Google search and did some research, and I thought this might help her. And sure enough, it did. Seizures were reduced by 50% after that one session where I added in some other instruments.
Well, that is wonderful because seizures are one of those things that either the person having them or the family is such a helpless feeling when someone's having a seizure. There's not much you
Multiple.
can do except for wait for it to finish.
Right, right. And these were, non-grand mal seizures, I believe they're called, where she would just check out hundreds a day. Unbelievable. And I thought, God, this just isn't fair.
Mhm.
We got to do something here. So give me something. if I got to use other instruments, just tell me what to use. And, and I kind of stumbled on them because I asked and I found, and seek and you shall find, And I think that's part of the issue too. A lot of people say, well, why did you experience healing when others have not? I wish I had an answer for that. I wish I could say that every special needs kid that I have worked with has been able to get up out of the wheelchair and walk. But for whatever reason, it's worked with some people and given them like amazing healing. But even still, even the ones in the wheelchairs, they have experienced something tangible. And I say, it's really not up to me. It's up, it's up to God. And they have experienced joy, and they love coming to, any classes or events that I do. And in that moment in time, they are drumming like a pro. If you closed your eyes, you would not have any idea that a lot of the kids in some of my classes, the group classes anyway, are on the autism spectrum. They're nonverbal, they have physical issues. You would not know because we've played Santana, we've played Rush, we've played all kinds of really challenging music, but they keep up and they do really well. And that levels the playing field for them. Drumming levels the playing field because now they can do something like other people actually better. And I always give them kudos, and I always tell them, this is my advanced class. You guys drum better than any of my other groups. And it's true. I'm not making it up to make them feel good. It's true. So I'm just out there to provide as much hope, healing, and joy as I can. And, there's extra bonuses that might happen. And if not, you'll have fun. You'll feel less stressed. And hopefully you'll have some extra clarity and confidence.
Yeah. So when you do the drumming with your classes, are you putting music behind that or you're just doing the drum part?
For the first part of the class or workshop, whatever I'm doing, we are drumming without music because I don't want it to be a music lesson. Anybody can do that. It's not, well, any drummer, any drum teacher. I'm not there to teach them, how to play, specific types of drumming. I'm teaching them specific exercises that I know will help them in different ways. They don't need to know that I don't normally drum that way, but I just call them my warm-ups. Every drummer has warm-ups, and today we're doing these, and I know that it's going to help them sync up the left and right hemispheres of their brain so they can focus better. I have special exercises for that. And I have different exercises we do where we're communicating with one another. We might be using our drums to do it. We might be speaking. You never know. It depends on what the goals of the group are. At the end is when I take out my Bluetooth speaker and we close out with a song or two because it's fun. They look forward to it. And like I said, they can play really well. And I tell people, if you can count, you can drum. I'm not teaching you how to go on tour with Santana or Bruno Mars. That would be fun, but that's not the goal. The goal isn't to teach you how to play, regular music. I don't use sheet music or anything like that. No drumming notation. That would be a drum lesson like on the drum set. I've done that before. Don't do that anymore because, to me, I think I need to use the gifts that I've been given in the way they were intended. So I have to honor the gifts that were given to me, especially after I was healed. And drum lessons really, that wasn't a part of the game plan. I have to remember. And that's a good tip for people to remember what your assignment is and how your gifts are supposed to be used for that season. There's a season for everything. So who knows? I might move on to something else. After all, it's been 12 years. But for this season, this has worked really well. And I've learned to incorporate different elements that nobody's really doing what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it, that I know of anyway. So
Beautiful. And I was just wondering, a lot of us want to do things preventatively,
yes.
go for a walk or we drink our water, whatever. Is there something that someone could do and say, okay, get this drum and do this pattern and you should do this every day for well-being?
Oh yeah, I tell people that what I do is really a self-care practice, especially when I get hired to do virtual corporate wellness. Almost always, especially after COVID, when people want to hire me for an event, it's almost always for anxiety and stress relief. Sometimes creativity, they want to boost that, and I can come up with a program for that. Private clients as well, including teens. After used to be ADHD and autism, still a lot on the autism spectrum, but a lot of people want anxiety and stress relief. And I tell them, you can do easy beats, even if you don't have a drum at home. Check out my YouTube channel, Next Stage Drumming, or follow me on Instagram at Next Stage Dori, Dori. And there's a lot of different things that you can do. Take a breath, take a break, tap out some beats, even if it's on your legs or a desk or a book, whatever, because it's a self-care tool that you can use at any time you need. Drink a lot of water while you're doing it because it does activate your brain, and you do burn calories. 270 calories per half an hour of drumming, people. So if you're really going at it on the drum set there, you'll burn more. But we've actually clocked it. Somebody had a Fitbit, and she wasn't even drumming all that vigorously. And I said, how'd we do? And she said, 270. I said, what do you know? The studies were right. But yeah, it's definitely something you can do anywhere, anytime. Take some deep breaths, say some positive affirmations. It's all going to be okay. And I'll put the sound back on so you can hear my sound here. Even if you're just drumming on your legs, take some deep breaths. It's all going to be okay. I can do this. I can rock this. I will rise up and rock. The next stage of your business, career, life, whatever, because it's time.
Mhm.
It's not time to play it safe anymore. I think that time has passed. So if you're just kind of dabbling or thinking about, oh, maybe I'll try something new, maybe I'll write that book or start a new business, what are you waiting for?
Mhm.
If not now, when?
Mhm.
Again, I started a business actually with $40, severely injured, well into my 50s. So it can be done. And now I'm in my 60s and I'm still rocking. So there's that. And I did not intend to write any books, but I thought I've got to do something with all these tips that are in my head and get them out in book form to give people a low cost item that they can use if they can't afford to work with me private for drum therapy. At least they'll be encouraged by my books, and they can take it from there. But there's always hope, and there's always something you can do with the gifts you've been given, guaranteed.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all your wisdom about that. And now I have a personal question for you.
Sure.
What is what gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Well, other than my 3 grandkids, I would say just seeing the spark in people's eyes when hope and joy come back, and when they realize that they now feel better. And just by doing something so simple that they never really thought of before, like, I don't want to drum, like, let it go. It's really actually not even about drumming. Step outside your comfort zone. Try something different, because it might actually help you move forward. If you don't try, you'll never know. So seeing results really quickly and seeing people's joy and wow, just warms my heart to know, wow, now they can move on. They don't need me usually after 8 sessions.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thank you
And
for having me. I appreciate it.
knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. So I have one last question before we complete.
Sure.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
I would say to just remember that there are no guarantees in life. We don't know how long we're going to be here, right? I don't want to be morbid, but I'm just saying, you really don't know. So I would just say, if you've been thinking about doing something, go for it. Don't wait, because you might as well. You really have no excuses, and there's no reason why you can't try something that you've always wanted to do. What's that dream that's in your heart? Give it a shot. It might actually work. I mean, I did this crazy drumming thing. I thought people are going to think I'm nuts, right? And imagine if I didn't, if I said, nah, I'm not going to do that, God, that's too crazy.
Mhm.
Who would have thunk it, right? So yeah, give it a shot. Why not?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dori.
Sure thing. And anybody can reach out anytime. Dori at nextstagedrumming.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, Dori Staehle MBA. And if I can help you in any way, just, reach out. We can connect. We can do a free call, virtual coffee, I call it, and just see what's going on with you. And if I can help, if not, I will certainly give you my blessings, maybe say a prayer for you, maybe do a little bit of drumming, or maybe I have somebody else who could help you along in your journey. So if I'm not a good fit, I always recommend other people.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
And we'll talk to you again soon.
Good deal.